No one else knows.
Well, welcome everyone. It's Sammy here. You all know me. I don't need no introduction, as people would say. But it is your one and only Sammy Chucks. We are here again, really trying to stand out and really trying to put in the work. As you can see, we've got the 5-star cool jazz going in the background as well. Obviously, please send in your feedback. But I hope everyone out there is doing well. I hope those who will be watching this later are also doing well as well. Nathan, I'm not quite sure why Nathan's face is the one that's showing on the screen directly, but there you go, better. Trying to take my place, Nathan. Is that how it is going to be now, mate? Just taking my spotlight.
Yeah, that's right.
But, Matt, really good to see everyone. Second time this week, so we are not stopping. Obviously, for those who are not aware, we've uploaded all of the videos from the last month. So all the Nerd Nights and the midweek technical trainings, all of those have all been uploaded to YouTube for your viewing pleasure. If anyone is having difficulties accessing that, obviously feel free to reach out to any of the mentors, and they'll be more than happy to lead you on the right direction. But I'm genuinely excited to be here today. I'm genuinely excited to be running this session. I've learned a lot over the last 24 hours, and I'm still learning more. There is still so much that I'm still trying to learn around OSINT as well. But I'm quite more than happy to share what I'm learning, my learning journey with everyone. So I hope everyone can buckle in and excited as I am and be ready to have fun. But without any further ado, I'll go ahead and I introduce our mentors for today. So we've got Mr. Nathan. So Nathan, mate, in less than 5 seconds, introduce yourself.
Developer, SOC analyst, malware analyst. Finish.
That's it. All right, good. And would you say Mr. Awesome? Or you're dropping that title altogether?
Yeah, Mr. Awesome, whatever.
Sarah, over to you. Sarah, because I really like you, you can have 10 seconds. Go.
Hi, I'm Sarah, security solutions engineer. I like hacking and doing all that fun stuff.
That's good. By the way, for those who are not aware, Sarah has just said that she's one of those organized people that only have a few tabs on her browser. She did say that off the record, so I'm not sure if that is something she wants to put on the record. So Sarah, do keep in mind that the day you eventually run a training session and you share your screen and and we all see.
I am a minimalist.
Yeah, she is a tab browser minimalist, and there's only a few of those still left in the world. So guys, I don't know. This is like the one and the only time that you'll be seeing one. So you better make sure that you're getting some photo, selfies with her. But yeah, it certainly is good to be here. Thanks so much everyone for jumping in. There is a lot that we've got to cover today. But with no further ado, obviously, we are right on the best segment of the day. I actually think this is one of the best segments of the day, which is threat landscape segment. So for the first one on the list here, I'll go ahead and actually pause the music so that we can, maybe dive in a little bit more.
Oh yeah, you need to put on something more dramatic with explosions in the background and.
that would certainly do it. That would wake everyone up rather than put them to sleep with the jazz music. But it's good to be here. So for the first article in here, obviously happy to. Does anyone want to see a different color from between this and that? Or is it my eyes?
A different color of what? What are you talking
text.
It is a different color, Sammy.
Literally the same code.
It is.
You would not believe it. It's literally
Yes,
the same
it is.
code.
It's quite pinching to the eyes, you can say, or in a funky color, some sort of funky color. We can say.
It's literally the same color code. I don't know what's going on there. I am genuinely confused.
Flabbergasted.
Yeah. There you go. I think I fixed it. So I need to go to there and there and there and there and there and there and there. Yeah, nah. I think I need to stop sharing for it to wake up. Wake up. There you go. I think that's fixed now. Perfect. All right, that was doing my head in for a bit. So obviously for the first one here, this is a really good article to read, or a good starting one. I obviously did put it in there. For those who are not already aware, RCE stands for remote code execution, and this is the kind of vulnerability where a threat actor actually is able to execute remote commands on your devices or your host, and not only command, they can actually execute code. So which means they have access to the bash interpreter, or they have access to other tools that actually allow them to execute code in your environment. And often you would find that local file inclusion or file upload vulnerability is included with remote code execution. So an example is when a threat actor maybe goes to your website and they see an upload form, and within that upload form there is a place for you to upload maybe only PNG files alone. But they find a way to circumvent that. Maybe perhaps the code is only blocking a few file types and not a lot of them. An example of the ones that I did in my OSCP is where for PHP there's actually different PHP file types. So if you're a developer and you only know about the PHP extension as the only extension of relevance, you would actually go ahead and block PHP, not knowing that there's PHP 5, 4, and there's actually other ones as well. So because of that, I, as a threat actor, because PHP is being blocked on that host, I can actually go and upload PHP 5, which is essentially still PHP as well. So these are the kind of things that you would find quite often, usually when there is a remote code execution vulnerability. So from the threat actor being able to essentially upload a code in your environment, they can then call back that code from within your internal environment. And it can be as simple as, obviously quite often when you upload code in an actual web application or a web server, that would actually be sitting in the IIS data. I think it's docs data server, if I remember. Or if it's in Linux, it'll be sitting in the www folder, and everything inside of the www folder, obviously, if you've configured it to be visible, is actually visible from the web UI. So all they basically need to do is to change the URI of the browser, and that would take them to their code that they've just malicious code that they've just uploaded, and quite often that would then give them access to be able to execute code in your environment. So in general, that is what remote code execution is. So when Microsoft is saying that critical remote code execution bug in Microsoft Outlook now exploited in the wild, and this is a big one because someone tell me what percentage of the world do you think is currently using Microsoft Outlook, or should I say what percentage of the enterprise world? Does anyone have any idea?
70%?
70%.
80?
That's good. All right, let's look. Interesting. So about that's actually very, very interesting stat. So I've just googled it, by the way, the one place where all good information is found. So Outlook is currently being used in 4.8, basically using up 4.38% of the global email share within the world. So that's not a lot.
So funny.
That's not a lot. I actually expected to see something more. So that's actually quite humbling. But the one interesting thing though is that obviously from a global standpoint, a lot of the global world use a lot of actual handheld device email services, which is like Google, Gmail, and Outlook. When I say Outlook, I mean live email and whatnot. So things like Hotmail and whatnot. But the interesting thing here is that most enterprise organizations probably use Outlook. So the percentage from that standpoint is pretty high. So which means that if for some reason you have something like Exchange Online or your Outlook online services open to the world, someone can potentially be able to exploit this vulnerability. So let's have a look at what's in here. So Cisco has reviewed patches to fix two critical. Actually, no, wrong one. I think I've got the wrong one. Yeah, there you go. CISA. So I'm trying not to look at that. I'm looking at a different screen. So there you go. CISA warned U.S. federal agencies on Thursday to secure their systems against ongoing attacks targeting the critical Microsoft Outlook remote code execution vulnerability discovered by Checkpoint vulnerability researchers Hi-Fi Lee and tracked on CVE 2024-21413. So the interesting thing here with this vulnerability is that the vulnerability was actually first found in 2024. So I've already explained to you guys how the vulnerability database ID is given. So you can see here, this is actually the year. So the first 4 digits are the year, and then you have the hyphen, and then you have the actual vulnerability ID itself. So this is actually how many vulnerabilities since this is not necessarily the total vulnerability in 2024. This is more the complete total vulnerability that's found within this category. So there's a lot more nuance in there that I probably might need to find more information to explain. But the key thing here is that whilst this vulnerability was first found by Checkpoint researchers in 2024, there wasn't a lot of kerfuffle or a lot of issues with it. But the reality is that obviously as threat actors are doing some research and reverse engineering the vulnerability itself, they've obviously found a new way to start exploiting it. So the flaw is caused by improper input validation when opening emails with malicious link using vulnerable Outlook version. So again, that validation that I talked about, right? So that improper input validation or data upload validation that could lead to remote code execution. So how does this work? The attackers gain remote code execution capability because the flaw lets them bypass the protected view, which should block harmful content embedded into Office files by operating them in read-only mode, and open malicious Office files in edit mode. Right. So I'm going to read a little bit more, but then I'll come back and explain what that means. When it patched CV 2024-21413 1 year ago, Microsoft also warned that the preview pane is an attack vector, allowing successful exploitation even when previewing maliciously crafted Office documents. As Checkpoint explained, this security flaw dubbed MonikerLink lets threat actors bypass built-in Outlook protections for malicious link embedded in the email using the file, essentially using a file protocol, and by adding an exclamation mark to URLs pointing to an attacker's control server. That's interesting. So you can see here basically. So one of the things that you can do with this is essentially a way for you to tell the URL that you're pointing to a file as opposed to HTTP. And most times people don't actually know this. That how you have HTTPS, colon // you can actually have other types of files as well. It's not just HTTPS that you can interact over the web. Whilst HTTPS is mostly used over the internet, you can have like FTP, SSH, and all of that using your browser as well. Again, not exactly recommended for SSH. So you can see the hyper reference here. This is the path that the threat actor is essentially going to. So when someone clicks on this is the file that would potentially be downloaded. So CVE 2024-2141 affects multiple Office products, including Microsoft Office, LTSC 2021, Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise, Microsoft Outlook 2016, and Microsoft Office 2019, and successful CVE 2024-21413. Attacks can result in the theft of NTLM credentials and the execution of arbitrary code via maliciously crafted Office documents. On Thursday, CISA added the vulnerability to its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog or database, making it as actively exploited or marking it as actively exploited. As mandated by the Biden Operational Directive, okay, 2201, federal agencies must secure the network within the 3 weeks by February 2027, this month, essentially. These types of vulnerabilities are frequent attack vectors for malicious cyber actors and pose significant risk to the federal enterprise, the cybersecurity agency wants. Whilst CySA primarily focuses on alerting federal agencies about vulnerabilities that should be patched as soon as possible, private organizations are also advised to prioritize patching these flaws to block ongoing attacks, right? So why is this now coming forward again since it was first discovered in 2024? Well, simply because it's now been seen or observed in the wild. So when you hear the word something is being observed in the wild, it just means that security researchers are seeing where threat actors are trying to leverage this vulnerability to gain or to essentially use the vulnerability to exploit organizations. So that's essentially what is happening here in this case. So going back to actually explain what is going on here with the difference between protected view and open pane panel and what the MonikerLink is all about. So essentially, this lets threat actors bypass the built-in Office Outlook protection for malicious links embedded in emails using file protocol by adding an exclamation mark to the URL pointing to the attacker's control server. So interesting. So the part I want to explain is the attacker gains remote execution capability because the flow bypasses the protected view. So basically in Outlook, and I think also in Exchange server as well, in Microsoft Exchange, there is something called protected view, and you guys would have seen this at work. When someone sends you an email with a link in it, Outlook actually automatically disables a lot of the links and disables a lot of the automatic link load functionality. So which is where you will see like things like photos and images and and signatures would essentially be automatically blurred out. It would show it to you until you actually click on download image, especially when that image for that signature is hosted on a third-party app like HubSpot. I don't know if anyone knows what HubSpot is. So essentially, what protected view or preview panel is about is it actually prevents inadvertent clicking of malicious links in your email messages, and also which blocks harmful content embedded in Office files by opening them in read-only mode. So if you do get such emails, it actually tries to open it in a sandbox on that read-only mode. So what this particular vulnerability does, it actually bypasses that and actually basically runs a remote code that is hosted on an attacker's command and control server, which is what this is about. Why is this important? It is important because once a threat actor gains access into your environment, then they can then carry on further attack, maybe privilege escalation, lateral movement, and then leading to obviously the stealing of your crown jewel, which could be your data, financial data, documents, classified documents, or even stealing all of your credentials in your environment, which is where NTLM comes into the picture here. So yeah, it's certainly something to be aware of. If you work in an organization where they use Microsoft Outlook, obviously make sure that you validate that you guys are not using any of the current version that is listed here. But with that, I'm kind of keen to obviously I guess throw it out there. I guess probably something to do first is maybe ask Nathan or Sarah if you guys had a better way to explain what this vulnerability is trying to do. Maybe you have a better way to explain what protected view is and what it's trying to do and how this vulnerability circumvents it.
No, I don't actually have a better explanation that I can think of, but I think it would be a lot of fun to try and recreate this. And then I can maybe try sending you an email.
I see what happens, huh?
See what happens, yeah.
I'm actually not sure what version of Microsoft Outlook I have, so let's see. Let's find out. Well, unfortunately, guys, I can't share my screen, so let's see. Well, I don't have to share my screen. I don't have to show you guys my Microsoft Outlook. What I can do is to show you my control panel, and let's find out if we can see what's in there. So on install programs, you guys can see all the dodgy things I've got installed here. And then OSINT, you can tell that I now have a HP laptop. There you go. This is how you find all that good information, which we'll be talking about shortly. So we can see here that I have, where is it? Yep. So I have Microsoft 365. So you can see that what I've actually got is Microsoft 365. And based on install date, this is probably one of the more latest one, and the version number is 16.0118227. So I would guess it's probably the 2024 version. So let's not guess. So let's find out. I don't want to change anything. I just want to research. No. All right. So let's find out. Oh, hang on. I didn't want to completely get rid of you. How do I do this?
So does this rely on macros being enabled?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I just saw something in the advisory that said that you need to enable JavaScript
No.
for this to run, but I might be looking at the wrong. Maybe
No, it doesn't have to do with the macros.
No,
it has
it's
to
not.
do with hyperlinks.
Yeah, so it is mostly protected view.
Yeah, so it's a hyperlink in Outlook. If they click it, they get access. The attacker gets access.
Yep.
I'm trying to find something online as well to like support the
is-
MonikerLink, because it's very interesting. The MonikerLink, it's an old CVE, but it's interesting to look at because it's rated pretty high.
It is critical. Yeah, 16.0.0.18.
Yeah.
So let's see. Ooh, okay. So I currently have a vulnerable version of this.
Sammy.
Yep.
You could probably like set up a Windows 10 VM and download an old version of Outlook and test it,
Yeah, why not?
like in an isolated environment.
Why not? Well, obviously there needs to be
Obviously in like isolated,
yeah, no,
not
that's fine.
not on your network, but yeah, you can probably test it on an old VM or something.
Yep. So the current build is 17. So 2024 is 16.7. So starting from January 2024 is 16.7, and I currently have the 16.0, which is in 20, I believe it's 2016, which is ironic, right? So if we go all the way down, 17.
It's interesting that I saw that Apple Mail is actually used. I never heard of Apple Mail, to be honest.
Oh, as one of the mailing services out there.
Well, because when you look at the statistics of how big is Outlook in the world,
Yeah.
one of them was saying Apple Mail was 56%. I'm like, what? 56%?
Well, don't
I've
you have
never
an
seen
iPhone?
it. No,
That is so. iPhone basically comes with a default mail service. That's Apple Mail.
but I thought like people would already have like a Gmail account or something like that and just
Oh,
use
no.
Gmail.
So right. So just to be clear, so we're not referring to email clients. So we're not referring to like something like Gmail or whatnot. People are more referring to the actual application that is managing your email. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
Outlook itself is just an application for you to embed, which is why you
Yeah.
can actually use a different email on Outlook. So it's an app.
Yeah. So Apple Mail, you could put any address, like Outlook address, Gmail address,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
whatever.
you can just sign into any email that you want.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, without having to dig through this because we've got quite a few things to cover today, so it's already 9:44. And
I just linked like a blog that explains the MonikerLink. I had a quick read of it, but the blog that I linked just quickly explains what it is.
Yeah,
and how it's.
let's have a look at that because I wasn't very convinced with my explanation of it. So.
Well, I just also put a POC in the chat.
Nathan.
Good old Nathan. POCs.
Interesting. So recently Checkpoint Research released a white paper titled "Obvious." The obvious.
If you scroll down a bit,
comprehensive analysis.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Outlook promotes a warning because of the hyperlink.
100%, and this is because of the protected view feature. So the protected view feature enables essentially stops malicious code from running in your environment. But obviously, the key thing here is protocol we first tested with the following: using the protocol to point to the remote Word file. Replace the app address with your own if you like to reproduce the test. Yep. When we click on the hyperlink, there was no warning dialog like the previous. Interesting. Such was displayed to the user in the Windows Notification Center, and the remote test file was indeed not accessed. The error message in the Windows Notification Center also area looks like the following. That's reasonable and good for security because if Outlook allowed the user to access the remote file, at least the local NTLM credential information would be leaked. Also, accessing the remote resource would go through the SMB protocol, which would use the local credential. Interesting.
So all it is just you're just inserting a URL into the email somehow, and then you're pointing to like an executable file or something.
Yeah.
Okay, it's actually a lot simpler than I thought it was.
Yeah. Oh, this is actually nifty. So yeah, this is what I was saying before. When you add the hyphen to the end of the URL or the file protocol URL, it actually bypasses the security. So that's essentially what that does. Anyways, this is probably a better article to use to do this than the one I used before, but that one was obviously very short. But yes, so this is a very serious vulnerability, to be honest. Apparently, I am vulnerable to it, so I will be updating my Outlook tonight. So guys, do not send me any not so kind emails because I will not open it and I will not click it until I've updated my
Nathan,
version.
let's try that POC on Sammy.
Oh jeez. But yeah,
that was your idea, right? Sending us the POC so we can send it to Sammy. We can use it on Sammy.
Well, Sammy can spin up his sandbox first.
Well, I've got my sandbox. I can technically host. That's not what this session is for tonight, but Nathan is tempting me to do a mega nerd night. But so essentially, what we can do is we can use ngrok to actually host a file on my VM, and basically send myself an email or get someone to send me an email. I'll give you the URL, and then that URL is essentially what we use to communicate. So if I do,
does anyone know what ngrok is? Has anyone learned what it is?
ngrok is in one of the labs, so that's why I used it.
Oh, okay.
So Alex, do you know what ngrok is?
ngrok?
Yeah.
It rings a bell, but I can't just say like from the top of my mind.
All right, so let me see if my VM and my thing is communicating. So let's see.
In simple terms, it makes a file that you're hosting online look like it's on the local network.
So in reality, it's somewhere remotely, but it appears
Yep.
that it's locally.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's hosted somewhere online, but it looks like it makes it look like it's on your local network.
So what's
Alright,
what's the point of that?
You can share files with anyone.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
you can host anything dodgy that you want to host. I can also use HTTP server as well. Python HTTP server, so I can do sudo. Like I said, Nathan, you're not going to do this to me. Oh, come on, man.
I need your permission to a certain point.
You're saying that you're not the one doing it to me. I mean, I'm willingly doing this to myself. Are you saying that? So basically, what I'm trying to do is, if you let me do that, where's my sudo password? I don't know.
Sudo password is sudo.
No, it's not.
No,
Or
it's
probably-
literally I don't know.
Okay, so I don't want to change it. So let's try to run this without root level access. So we're basically hosting HTTP server on port 8000 at the moment, right? So, and this is hosting literally every single thing on this particular home directory that I've got right now. So whatever directory I'm currently on right now. So if I open up a new terminal, real quick, Nathan, you caused this, by the way, you know that, right? So if I do an ls on
I
here,
caused this today.
yep, you can see the files that I've got in here. Someone remind me. I think it was Control Shift plus sign. Yep, there you go. Just in case you guys cannot see my screen.
Red line still on. That's interesting.
That was the lab that I did for the anyway. So here we can see that basically everything I've got inside of this directory is now actually, I'll do hello, is now actually being hosted by that URL. So an example is if I open my browser right now, so I'm using Python HTTP server to host this. So this is a library within Python that allows you to get Python to act like a web server, right? So if I go to HTTP, if it'll let me do that, 127.0.0. Come on. I don't have nonlock 127.0.0.1. And then again, remember what we have here. So if we go back to the previous
Port 8000.
port 8000. So remember the port we've got is port 8000. So if I go back here to the other one, so we just need to specify that. One thing you can actually do is to also click here. It'll open the same page as well. But obviously in this case, we don't actually have any file that we're looking for. So we want to specify a file. So we do know a file name. What file name did we see there?
Analysis.txt.
We know we have analysis.txt. So let's do. And there you go. So basically, now obviously one key thing to note is that this is currently hosted on 0.0.0.0.0, right? Which, again, I don't know if anyone, Nathan probably understands what I'm referring to here. So there was a recent vulnerability where if you send a 0.0.0.0, packet to your browser, the socket basically fails and the Windows driver kind of gives in. So the S3 is it the TCP socket for the browser? The driver that is responsible for that basically just gives in. So let's not dive in there. There's a lot of conflicting information in my brain that wants to make me jump off and talk about a different thing. But ultimately, what we're seeing here is that I could potentially, again, send this as an email, this URL as an email to someone in Outlook, and they basically would get this based on the way that's been described in here. If I show you guys, based on what's been described here. So if I send someone an email with my IP address, again in this case, I'll put in the IP address of my host, which would be, if I try this HTTP. I doubt this would work, but why not? HTTP 192.168.213. 213 what? What is the other IP address? I just pinged it. What is it? I don't want ads, by the way. 213.131. All right, so HTTP 192.168.213.131. Why isn't it working? There you go. Numlock. 192.168.213.131. And then remember to put in the port that we want. So port 8000. And then we want analysis text. So we're basically telling this computer here to go and fetch this file in my lab. So let's see if it works. And there we go. So this is not my lab box. Right. So guys, by specifying my IP address here, I've basically been able to access file that is located inside of my lab environment. And this is essentially how this vulnerability works. So if they'd like to host a malicious file on an AWS S3 bucket or anywhere they want, and then they basically send you an email with a click me, essentially button. So that click me is essentially that's a button, and then you click it, it basically just go and downloads that. Now the interesting thing here, obviously, like we've said, is that if the hyphen symbol is not there, it would not trigger the vulnerability. But if it is there, it will trigger the vulnerability. And because essentially when I made this network connection from here to my endpoint or to my lab, there is one thing we did not see, which is there were a bunch of network traffic that went through and connected with both environments. So the thing with using the file protocol is that, and if you're using it from Outlook, it will basically expose a whole bunch of things. So you'll be using the SMB connection, you'll be using TCP, you'll be using RCP, I believe, as well. And one of the most I guess the dangerous thing is that you would essentially be exposing your NTLM authentication hash or key to the attacker to leverage and use. Right. Nathan, is there anything you're going to add to that? I don't want to go deeper into this because it can get pretty wild.
Nope, that's it.
Are you happy now?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm very happy.
All right. You don't want a quick touch point and walk away, huh? You wanted something deep. Fair enough. Sarah, do you have anything to add to that?
No, nothing from me, Sammy. No.
Cool. All right. Did we lose the slide pack? I think we did. Anyway, so obviously for anyone who wants to read into this a little bit more, I'll also put this link. I think Sarah's already put a link in the chat. I'm not quite sure who came in and who left, so I know we've had some new people come in as well. So welcome on board. But Abdallah, wanted to, I guess, call you out, and not calling you out, but maybe bring you into the conversation and go, hey, have you heard of the MonikerLink before? And did you know any of that capability was possible?
Not really. That's why I'm just quiet and just listening to you guys.
You're sitting there and listening in awe.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, sounds interesting. And Nathan's like, I could probably do that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Someday I could do it too.
Abdullah, say when the wise speak, we the dumb we sit and learn.
There's no one wise here. I can guarantee you that. We're just having fun.
Yep. All I say is, I'm learning a lot.
No, it's good. It's good. Learning is a good approach to it. All right. Now, this obviously was a really, really cool, I guess, threat landscape segment. But before I switch off away from it, there's another really juicy article here as well about Cisco ICE bug that can let attackers run command on as root. Now, what could go wrong if you let threat actors run command as sudo in your environment?
Nothing.
Did anyone get my evil laugh?
Yes.
But
it sounds pretty nice for an evil laugh.
I've got a meme. I've got a meme, guys. I've got a meme. So don't worry. You will see something nice on the slide pack. All right, I'll put this in the chat as well, just so everyone gets visibility of it. Hey everyone, for those who have just jumped in, better late than never. So welcome on board to the session. Mr. Francis, it's good to wait. That's not Francis. That's Fan. Now I've got F. I was thinking that's Francis. No, that's not Francis. Hey, Mr. Precious, nice to have you here, mate. And I believe you were.
Hi, nice to have come. I was sorry I was late. I was sleeping.
Nah, it's good, man. You gotta rest your head one way or the other. So I've also posted a link for the second one. So I think it's a very good read. For those who are not aware, so Cisco ICE is essentially the network. So you can see Identity Service Engine is a security policy management platform. Really, almost. So you can probably kind of say that it's what's the best way to describe it? It's an identity management platform. Well, actually, here, enterprise administrators use Cisco ICE as an identity and access management solution that combines authentication, authorization, and accounting. So it's almost like a RAID. So, not RAID. What is it? Radius. Has anyone heard of Radius before?
Yeah.
It's a login server.
So it's almost like a Radius server that obviously manages authentication into the environment. So the two security flaws. So interesting. These two were just found in 2025 already. Ooh, juicy. Can be exploited by authenticated remote attackers with read-only admin privileges to execute arbitrary commands at root and bypass authentication on patch devices. Well, by reading this already, I can tell you, first of all, if a threat actor is able to authenticate into your environment, so this is an authenticated vulnerability. Critical vulnerability. So there are two types of critical vulnerabilities. There's authenticated and unauthenticated critical vulnerability. What that actually means, what it means for a vulnerability to be authenticated is that someone needs to have actually had a valid account that can first log onto the platform. So you need to have a valid username and a valid password. Again, I say the word password very sparingly here because I know that there are other ways to bypass having to put a password into any authentication mechanism, right? So if you do have a valid account access, that is authenticated vulnerability, where that is required. So an example is if you're able to, for some reason, harvest a user's, basic user account that has read-only access into the IS server, then with that, a threat actor can then carry on further attacks, which is essentially elevate their privilege from normal user privilege to root admin privileges, and that enables them to then be able to manage and administer the platform. The phenomenal thing about this is that most times when threat actors gain access to edge devices like this, they actually often don't want to disrupt it. They just want to put a backdoor in there, right? So they want to get in and get out as quickly as possible without anyone knowing. So this could be, giving access to a user that they've created, making that user essentially a system user, and doing a whole bunch of things that is hard for, so that when someone tries to come remove them from the environment, they can then use that to get back in. So that's essentially what that backdoor does for them. But yeah, this is another really good read for those who have some time to look at it. So for those who have just joined us, we've demonstrated how you can actually access a file from multiple locations. So you can access a remote file by specifying the file name and then by hosting a HTTP server on there. So there are multiple ways to host a HTTP server on your platform. You can either use Apache or Nginx, or you can use a Python HTTP server, module or library, sorry. And then that's essentially what this is. So for those who haven't actually seen what I've done here, so if you have a look at my command, you would see that what I've told Python is I told Python 3 to start, and I've asked it to use a module, right? And that module is http.server. Now, if anyone noticed from the lesson that we've been doing with Python, you will notice that when Nathan was showing us how you can actually import a particular variable or function from a class or from a library, this is essentially what's happening here. So the actual library name is HTTP, and then the content or the function or within that library is .server, and that is what is being referenced here. Nathan, did I get that terminology right?
You did.
All right, so that's essentially what we're doing. We're referencing that, and you can see how that, I'm actually able to monitor every single person who's viewing, who has access to this platform and who has tried to access any files, right? I can see all of the different traffic that is coming through, and then I can use this to monitor who's trying to, steal files from me or who's trying to send me a piece of malware into my Outlook environment. I'm watching you, Alex and Nathan. Don't think I'm not. All right, so for today's session, that's a quick wrap, obviously, into this. We've spent a lot of time on threat landscape today. So for today's session, I wanted us to maybe just, step into the work that we've been doing. So last week when we caught up, we talked about, practical OSINT, and we went through some basic introduction of what OSINT is. We went through a quick definition. We talked about how OSINT is essentially, stands for open source intelligence, which is defined as intelligence produced by collecting, evaluating, and analyzing publicly available information with the purpose of answering a specific intelligence question. And I talked about how having access to information does not actually mean that you have access to intelligence. Information needs to be curated, it needs to be analyzed, and it needs to then be turned into intelligence, right? Only when it's relevant to that particular request or demand. So an example is if you're looking for, I don't know, if you're looking for, say a place to rent for your holiday, right? And someone sends you an email that actually is a really good, well-presented data that says, hey, here's how to rent a boat, right? Whilst that information they've sent you is useful information, it could be useful for someone who's looking for a place to rent a boat. To you, it's a very little or very minimal, value to you, because all you want is how do I rent a place to actually stay when I go on holiday, not how do I rent a boat. You might eventually even want to get a boat to live in, but just for the fact that that's not your ultimate requirement at that stage. So that is where the specific intelligence question comes in, right? What are you asking? What do you want? And then OSINT allows you to be able to answer that question or provide a solution to that question. And then when an information has been turned into intelligence is when that information is able to provide a solution to the intended intelligence or question that has been asked. So I've just sort of run through that real quickly. Before I continue with the overview, I wanted to obviously make sure that people didn't have any questions. So does anyone have any questions so far?
I'm alright for now. Yeah.
Silence is cool. All right, perfect. So we talked about what understanding of the fundamentals of OSINT is. We talked about where OSINT fits in within cybersecurity in general. So cybersecurity, OSINT basically fits in every single area of cybersecurity, right? We talked about the fact that it actually goes beyond cybersecurity in general. We talked about the fact that it actually fits into law enforcement, it fits into journalism, it fits into government, it fits into the military, investigative journalists, human rights investigators, private investigators, law firms, cyber threat intelligence, which is a capability within cybersecurity, penetration testers, people who are basically doing pen testing, and red teamers, social engineering. So these are all the areas that actually leverage open source intelligence to find information, right? So this is not a skill that if you get is limited to cybersecurity. If you know how to do OSINT, you could be of quite a lot of use to a law firm, right? You could be you could be of a lot of use to an investigative journalist organization, right? I don't know if there's any more of those left these days. Everyone seems to be very, very interested in getting clickbaits. But anyways, so that's essentially what OSINT is on a fundamental level. So the key thing here is obviously that we went through some basic open source intelligence last week, just basically showing you guys how you could use something as simple as an email address and you can put it on a platform, and that will tell you what might have happened to your personal data, which includes your address, your home address, the IP address of where you stay, your potential mobile number, and anyone who has money on the internet can actually buy any information they want out of you. And that's the problem. We give out way too much data every day. And here's the worst part: even when we don't give out data voluntarily, our data is being stolen from us, from all the different third parties that we voluntarily give it to all the time because of the lack of security controls and cybersecurity practices, right? And that's the key. So obviously, recognizing that when you do start OSINT, the next thing is to actually understand what it is you're trying to do and how there's a gray line between legal OSINT and illegal OSINT. So we talked about that last week as well. We understand that there is passive and active open source intelligence. So passive is when you're basically scraping the web and looking at data that is publicly available. We also talked about how it can even get into a blurry line even while you're looking on Google or any other open source intelligence tools. It can become an issue if the original data owner did not intend for it to be open to the public, and the Google API or the Google bot has inadvertently gone and crawled that website. So that's the important thing to note here. So now for today, we're basically going to focus on what are the different tools and how do you use them within open source intelligence. So we're going to actually focus on creating and configuring an OSINT lab. So what we're going to look at to start with is website and UI OSINT. So website and UI. When I mean UI, I mean user interface. So the reason I didn't say website alone is that in most cases, like an example is if I go to again going back to what I was showing you, and that's my meme, guys. So if I went here and did not specify a file, I just wanted to list all the directory for me. You wouldn't call this a website, would you? Right? It's not a website, but it actually has a UI, and you can see all of the different data that's available to me. So because of this essentially represents UI and not necessarily a website. So quite often, a lot of the times, threat actors will gain access to things like this, where there's a directory listing, where the actual original data owner has not intentionally left the place open. So that's essentially what we're going to be looking at today. So kind of I wanted that meme to sort of have its weight. I'll go back and go back into it. And here's my
What was the meme? Oh, excellent. Yeah, that's exactly what I think when I see open directories full of like that. Yeah.
So and then now, let the OSINT games begin. I'm gonna have to.
You need to work on your evil laugh. You need to work on your
evil
laugh.
Sorry, is my evil laugh cute or what? What are you talking about? My
evil laugh it's just Sammy is such a good guy that he can't actually be evil and have an evil laugh.
Jeez, I need training. Nathan, do one. Let me see ya.
I used to do a good one when I was younger, but I can't be bothered.
All right, Alex, give me an evil laugh. Nathan is gonna chicken out of this one.
Oh.
So you're actually being stingy with the laugh as well. All right, fair enough. But obviously, going back here, we're going to look at platforms like Whois.com, which is slightly different from Whois databases. So one of the really cool things about Whois is that it actually tells you the history of a particular domain. So an example is a domain such as like Marvel.com. You know that domain at some point Marvel probably had to buy it from someone. And it could have been some dude in Wyoming or in some weird US country or maybe even in Yugoslavia who registered that domain to start with. And then someone from Marvel was like, all right, we need this domain now, let's go and buy it. And then the person in Yugoslavia will be like, oh, I'm not going to sell it until you give me 30 grand. So all of that information is something that you can find with Whois.com, which is a really good tool. And then obviously the one up there that deserves no mention is Shodan. Shodan obviously.io, and then we have the Wayback Machine. So these are the three most, prominent open source tools that you'll be using as a cybersecurity personnel, because you actually find a lot of good information from there. And then obviously when we talk about the labs that almighty lab that I've just shown you guys right now, we have things like Maltego, the Harvest, Google Docking. So we'll probably save those for next week and focus mainly on all of these tools today. So it just so happened that earlier this week when I was preparing for this class, that I received a bunch of fake tax return documents. I know.
Very coincidentally, you received them all this week, not any other week. Sounds suspicious.
The gift I keep on giving. All right, so we're going to play a little bit with that and show you guys how to actually do open source intelligence with such information and try to find out who's responsible for this. Right? Again,
did you hire your kids to be a threat actor for a week?
They're too young for it yet. you notice I didn't say no.
So there's a high chance.
There is a very good chance that they will become cybersecurity ninjas soon. But anyway, and that's ultimately the key here. So I'm looking at this, and then we'll look at them. So enough slideshow for now. Let's actually go in and start doing some good evil deeds. So
another tool.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh yeah. Kind of reminds me of Santa going ho ho ho. But instead he's going ha ha ha.
Actually, I kind of want to know what Francis, evil laugh. Sorry, not Francis. Precious. Precious, what's your evil laugh like? And Mr. Paul, by the way, great to have you here. I forgot to mention you, by the way. Is Precious falling asleep? All right, Fahan, we hear you one. Give us an evil laugh, mate.
No, I'm not falling asleep.
All right.
Not yet.
Well, he did give us. Well done, Alex. You made him do the laugh. But anyways, Fahan, do you have an evil laugh? What would your evil laugh sound like?
Yeah, I will give a fake one.
That actually sounds like Santa Claus. What are you guys doing? Like, excellent. Sarah, do you have one? Oh, jeez. Oh, there you go. All right, for anyone watching this later, do not record yourself and send it to me and go ha 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 ha. That's my evil laugh.
Oh,
put it in the comment section. You put it in the comment section. Just express yourself in the comment section. Don't send it as a malicious file. That if I open it, you go ha 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 ha. Send me for my fish. Excellent.
Nice.
Jeez. All right, let's actually get started. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to start with playing with a bunch of these tools. We might actually do some Google Docking as well today, just to really see how that works, and I'll show you guys some few tricks that I've used in the past as well. Again, this is not an advanced, crazy open source intelligence class. This is more just to get you guys started, get the feet wet, and then obviously you can do your own further research. So without further ado, let's actually get started. So because we don't have permissions to actually do anything against anyone legally, At the moment, there is this website called example.com. So you have legal rights to do anything on example.com. So they basically built the website for you to do some stuff to it, right? So we will start with Whois.com on that particular website. So if we go to Whois.com,
Sammy, I can give you a bunch of like random IPs and URLs that you can do some stuff on if you want.
do you have permission for them?
Well, they're potentially going to be malicious.
All right. Feel free. By the way, Nathan, if you've got something you want to show us as well, feel free to share your screen as well and show us that. So I'm not I'm certainly not the most clever person in the room here, but
well, you could always go and I'll go and stick it in the chat. You can always go and have a look at the URLs on ThreatFox.
Yeah,
which for anyone who doesn't know is a free database full of different indicators of compromise. You can go and look up. So I've got to browse ISEs.
Yeah, where is it?
At the very top.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we can see here check oi.site, a whole bunch of them. Obviously, play around with caution, which is can't believe I'm saying that. But obviously, one of the things that threat actors do is once they register something, they will actually once it's been made public, they will actually stop deregister it and use a different one. Obviously, so you can see that this is Metafrida, Metasploit. Someone basically just opened up a maybe using ngrok to host the malicious file, and this is what is happening here. So again, without getting too lost, but let's look at this pennyspin.shop.
I just put another tool in the chat as well. It's by the same developers. It's called URL House, and it's just specific to URLs.
Yep. So I wanted to let's not get too ahead of ourselves. So I wanted to show you guys this too, and why it's different from from Whois database, or looking at why it's different from just looking at say something like VirusTotal directly alone. I'll show you guys why it's useful. So obviously one thing is Whois lookup for I'm not a bot.
I might be a bot.
Okay. Interesting. Is the site down? Well, what could go wrong? I'll check the site out in my browser, in my lab environment. Or I could show you guys WannaBrowse. So WannaBrowse is a tool that allows you to actually use a remote browser. There's a few ones there, so you can look at that. And then you put your URL here, and then you basically click on Get Request. So this is one way to not have anything rendered. So I think it's asking me for HTTP. I think it is. Yeah, so this is one way that you can actually get a reply back from the server without having any JavaScript rendered to you. And the reason this is important is obviously you don't want to kind of go and view this with all of the JavaScript enabled and all of that, because it can actually sort of force you to download something without you knowing inadvertently. So one way to do it is to click the review button on a whole bunch of things happening here. One thing to do is to basically look at this. So you can see there's a bunch of script that is running here. So I don't even know what those scripts are doing. And this is why it's very smart to not go and look at this website directly. Another tool that you can basically use is URL to PNG. So this actually just takes a picture of the URL of the browser. Let's do test drive. So I actually feel like this domain is probably someone's domain that someone was able to take over. But let's see. Well, you can obviously tell that it's malicious. But Nathan, do you remember the one where it's actually a sandbox? Browser
Yeah,
sandbox?
that's called BrowserLink.
BrowserLink, yeah.
Yep. Just as a quick request, could all these like websites, links, and everything, could they be copied to Discord? Just
yeah. We can put a large list in Discord.
That's good. So that they don't get lost in history.
BrowserLink. There you go. I think I got it now. So this one, the difference between this one and the ones we looked at before is that this one actually basically works like things like Koku, so the malware sandbox, or malware hybrid analysis, or malware bazaar. Does malware bazaar have a way for you to upload malware, Nathan?
Yep, it does. You can
And
upload and download.
Yeah, and then you obviously got any.run, so there's a bunch of tools that you can use there. Again, we're kind of deviating a little bit from from what we're supposed to be doing today, but because Nathan brought this up, so let's actually look at what this might.
It's all my fault.
So this actually allows you to pick a different browser, like a Windows computer or whatnot. So basically, what this does is it actually spins off in a sandbox Docker container, and that sandbox actually interesting. Interesting. What happens if I don't have HTTPS to it? Why is it blocking me? It thinks I'm trying to catch it in its act.
Maybe you are.
It still blocked me. Oh, hang on. I just read something recently about this. I literally just read something recently about this. So this was what I read. So let me show you guys. From a guy on LinkedIn. Threat actors, decoy, blocked
Blockchain.
URL, something. Oh, blocked. That's not the right way to put this. Hackers evade detection through WAF page, through fake WAF page. We are derailing off chat today, so I literally saw this on LinkedIn. If I'll stop searching, but when I find it, I'll show you guys that. That's not what I'm looking at. So basically, what this guy was saying is that threat actors actually intentionally put this in, and make it seem like there's actually nothing there. So one way to bypass this is to maybe look at the robots.txt, which we're going to talk about today, anyways. So let's actually see if indeed there is something blocking us for sure. So let's go to robot.txt. Why did you not load? Time's up. Oh, come on, browser. Thank you very much. So that's one way. So basically, what I'm trying to figure out is, am I truly being blocked, or is someone playing catfish?
You could also put in the same URL and use curl. See if you get the same response.
That's a good point. All right. Why not?
So robot.txt, what does that do specifically?
So that basically is looking for a particular resource within the web server. So rather than taking you to the home page, which is where someone is basically hosting an index.html or index.php, that is basically them. That's the landing page. So every time someone goes to that website, that's where the landing page is. So someone can basically create what's it? Looking for like a flow condition where it says if you think that the person looking at this website is a security researcher, direct them to to this page instead. So, but by going to the robot.txt, it's very unlikely that they've obviously done that too there. So that allows us to then bypass that particular flow condition and go directly to a resource that exists. And the thing with robot.txt by default exists for every single website. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that it's open to the public on every single website, but it exists there to essentially tell crawlers or web bots that do things like scanning. So like an example is Google actually has their bot that actually goes and scans every single website and indexes them. That is how you can actually find information on Google. That's because the Google bot API bot actually goes and indexes every website. And how the Google bot knows not to index a page is when that page has been disallowed on the robot.txt page. So I'll show you guys what that looks like if data is in there. So let's say we go to example.com again, and then we go back to what we're here in the first place. Robot.txt. Nathan, you can be working on that one in the back and see if you can find a way to bypass that. Illustrative views.
Are you able to send me the URL?
Yes, can do. I'll send it directly to you.
Yep.
So people don't actually click on it and think that, oh, it's another good URL to look at.
Oh, it definitely is.
I'm going to define it for you as well. So.
Excellent.
All right, there you go, mate. Do not get hacked. So again, for people who want to actually practice their skill, this is one place where you can use. Go and look at a bunch of IP addresses and see if you can actually look at it and see what you can find there. But I'm not quite sure why my robot.txt did not show here. Why? TXT. There you go. So Nathan, can you, Alex, can you see this?
Yep.
So you can see here. So basically,
yep.
This is telling an API web crawler that whenever you're trying to crawl this website, make sure that you do not look at anything that is under this list. So again, you can see in here, there's basically no list. So this website is telling you, yes, you can crawl every single thing in here. Does that make sense? So let's say, for example, we go to a different website. So let's say we go to marvel.com. I have no idea why I'm doing this, but it's for learning purposes, guys. Do not try this, and I do not endorse anyone going to go play with someone's website. So let's say we go to robots.txt for Marvel. So you see what that looks like? So this is saying that you can allow user agent, so you can crawl a user agent for this server. So again, we're going to talk about what a user agent is later on, and it's saying that you can look at every single thing inside of this directory. Sorry, yeah, so you can see that directory is called insider. You can look at everything. You're allowed to crawl it. You're allowed to crawl everything inside of insider, /FAQ, which is a file, and which is weird, interesting. So there's a file called insider, and then there's another directory also called insider. This is a tricky one. Anyway, so just to not maybe confuse you guys. So quite literally, sometimes if you're trying to go to a file, especially on a URL, if you don't have the /, the browser would actually assume that that's a file under the directory. So in this case, because there's no / in front of it, the browser obviously expects that to be a file. So it's saying that you can go to insider as a file, which I'm guessing does not exist because insider is a directory, but you're not allowed to go into the directory insider. Only look at the FAQ within that directory in here. So it's also saying that you can look at everything inside of images. So you cannot look at everything inside of images, and we're not allowed to look at everything inside of comics, unlimited home, and we're not allowed to look at everything inside of my account. Again, you get the point. So everything that is basically disallowed here are things that you're not allowed to crawl using an API. And this is important because as a cybersecurity professional, if you're trying to crawl this person's website using tools like Harvester or Maltego or even use curl, like Nathan said, if you're using curl to access this website and you basically use something like GoBuster and you're trying to essentially look at all the different potential URLs that you can go to, and if you try to go here, this person can basically see you because you're trying to access the resources that they've disallowed you from accessing. So that's one thing obviously to keep in mind here. Obviously they've got some key site maps. So these are maps that, again, this is for something called SEO, so search engine optimization. They're basically mapping this site so that it's easier for Google API bot to be able to find it. So you can see they've actually specified some user agents here. So you can see GPT bot, Alfred bot. So these are all the APIs bots that they basically denied access to their platform. I've said a lot. Does anyone have any question?
To be honest, I'm still a little bit.
Alex, go ahead. You said you're still a little bit confused?
Yeah, I'm still a little bit confused. Just didn't really, I'm still a little bit lost. Not lost, but just a little bit confused with all the the robot.txt and everything. Yeah, and all the.
That's all right. Is anyone else confused about this? Abdallah, Precious, Fahan, Paul. We lost Sarah.
Yep, we did.
Okay.
Everyone must be sleeping.
Have I?
I'm not sleeping. I'm still trying to get it. Maybe when I watch the video later, I'll finally get it. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I went too fast. So let's go back. Let's take a step backward. All right. Thank you very much, Nathan. Let's take a step
What I
backward.
do?
So the plan was to stick to the script until you said, "Show me something semi-cool," and I went to show you something cool. Now my brain is like, "Oh, I want to see something cool more." Anyway, so let's take a step backward here, and if we go back to example.com, so this was what I wanted to show you. So that's actually relevant to OSINT, right? So by going to this platform and you go to example.com, if you put in #JSON, you can actually see a lot more information in here, right? Now, obviously, assuming you don't want to do that, you're like, I don't know what this new string is. This is annoying. It doesn't look, readable. It looks very hard to understand. Looks a bit hard to understand. That's all right. So this is JSON. This is JavaScript object notation. That's essentially what it is. So it basically just presents a way for you to read data using a key pair value. So a key pair value is essentially you've got a key and then you've got a value. That's it. And then it's column delimited. None of that what I said makes a lot of sense, but let me explain what it means. So you can see here how you've got a key. So status is the key, and then 1 is the value. Now we're going to talk about a similar concept in Python, which is dictionaries. So dictionary has a concept of a key and a value as well. So that's essentially what it's doing. So you've got a name for the field, and you've got the value that is assigned to it. Now, if you notice, it's abiding by Python logic or rules. So you see how you're allowed to put a single 1 here, right? That's a digit. But if you want to put something like example, you put it in double quote. So remember how Nathan said that a lot of programming languages are the same. That's essentially what is happening here. So it's about, it's following the same rules and regulation that Python has. So if you learn Python, you can actually use any other platform that you want. Anyways, so if we go back to the Whois original, enriched text, we can see here that this actual domain example.com was first registered on the 14th of August 1995, which was 29 years, 5 months, 25 days ago. Jeez, almost 30 years old. And then it was updated on the 14th of August 2024, 5 months to 25 days back, right? So an update could potentially be someone renewing the domain. Sorry guys, I'm looking this way too much. Could be someone renewing the domain, or or adding some additional information there, and you can see that it expires on the 25th of August 2025, so 6 months from now. So looking at this here, it's pretty obvious that they basically just paid for 1 year. And now this is the key thing about OSINT. It's being able to find information by being curious. Even though no one tells me that that someone renewed this domain on the 14th of August last year, and it's going to expire on the 13th of August this year, I can tell by when it was last updated and when it expires that someone just basically renewed the domain for 1 year. Right. So that's information that you basically document somewhere. All right, the domain I'm looking for, I know that this domain was renewed 14th of August last year. So that means that at least the administrator who is in charge of this domain is still active as of 5 months, 25 days ago. Is this making sense, guys? Like, are you following me?
Yep.
The mindset that is required here. So, right, and then you're looking at the domain status, right? So client delete prohibited, client transfer prohibited, client update prohibited. Again, I'm not quite sure what that means, but information you can have. But you can actually see all of the different name servers that are available to this domain. So you can see a.inaserver.net, b.inaserver.net. So these are the domains that are basically what's the word I'm looking for here? That are subdomains within the same domain network, if that makes sense. So that's what you have in here. So again, if we're looking at, say, an organization like Marvel, because we've already done Marvel, I'll probably do Marvel again, so you guys can see additional information. So some of the additional information that you can see is like, how much was the domain sold, who bought it, and things like that. Marvel.com. I think I went to a different. Interesting. So I went to a domain called Marv rather than Marvel, and I can see that it was registered in 1999, and it was updated November 2024. Again, the same thing. It was updated 2 months ago. So again, the administrator who updated it is obviously still alive and fresh. And then we can also see here that this was registered through GoDaddy, which is an email registration service, which we know, right?
Sammy,
Yep.
I think you missed. Did you intentionally miss in Marvel.com the L, or?
Yes, I intentionally missed it. Well, initially it wasn't intentional, but I was going to make a point. So my point is that by leaving an L out, a threat actor could have potentially registered this domain. This is called a lookalike domain. So a threat actor could have registered this domain wanting to lure people to a new website. So imagine if I went and cloned, again, this is very rare to happen in real life because, I'm sure Marvel have people in their team who are looking for lookalike domains, and I'm showing you guys how to find that and how to create one using DNS trace. I'm sure Marvel have a team that's looking and monitoring that, who registered domains and whatnot. So let's assume for some reason, again, hypothetically, that a threat actor is able to get access to this domain, and then they basically build a replica, Marvel website and send you an email and go, hey, watch this new movie on us for free, for the first 30 days. And then you go in, you key in your credit card information, and then all of a sudden you realize that, oh, I've been hacked. That's essentially what lookalike domain is. So that's essentially what I was going to show here. So in this case, I was wanting to go to Marvel.com, but here I see myself finding out that, all right, so this domain was bought in the United States for $6,250, right? And then we can see the email address of the person. Again, there is a way that you can actually hide your information using some of this domain service providers. So you can actually hide your information. So again, we've got something similar to that. So I've now gone to the original, Marvel domain, and we can see that the actual registrar has changed. So it's now CS Corporate Domains Inc. And they have 2.0507 domains. And then if you scroll down, you can also see that it was registered in 1997, and then it was updated this year. So you can see it basically expired this year, and it's going to be renewed again on the 8th of March next year. All right, good information. And then we're looking at all of the potential name servers that are attached to it. So this is essentially how you find subdomains. So let's say we take one of these subdomains. Again, remember the two we're using so far. If you look at a document here, the two we're using so far is Whois.com. And then from Whois.com, we've now found that, hey, Marvel.com has a bunch of new subdomains that we were not aware of before, right? Or name servers. We can then go, all right, let's actually see what each one of these name servers are. And then you can copy them. And this is what you can do. You can just take this information and then throw it at something like showdown.com, right? And see if there's any publicly known vulnerability that impacts this. Nothing found. Interesting. Again, you're going to hit your head against the wall a few times, which is normal. And there's no result found, which is normal. It's fine. No result found again. And no result found. So what if we did directly Marvel.com? What do we get? Nothing. All right, so now I'm worried. Let's try that again. I should be able to do Marvel. Interesting that I can't find anything there. All right, so I'll use example.com then to demonstrate this.
Next time you should just ignore me so I don't take you off track.
All good. So let's assume that again in here, let's assume we're using Marvel. We're using example.com here instead of Marvel. But we can see a lot of good information here, right? So we can see that Marvel is registered under Disney Enterprise. So if you were not aware of this before, if you didn't know that that Disney owns Marvel, this is a really good way for you to find that information, right? And you can see the address of Disney in Burbank, California. There's even a zip code for you, and there's even an email address for you to email. Right. So there's a whole bunch of things that you could potentially do here, and then there's obviously administrative contact emails, information, and these are all the things that you can potentially get out of here as well.
So if you wanted to, you could go and look up a threat actor's address and go and call them on the phone.
Yep. And say, hello, how you going? Just wanted to check up on you, mate.
How's the threat acting going?
Yeah, threat acting going. So guys, that's pretty much some of the things that you can do with this stuff. Obviously, I wanted to show you guys the Wayback Machine as well before we wrap up, because I know we've been going already for more than an hour, which is not ideal in general. So you can also use the Wayback Machine. So not that. I don't want to go to GitHub. Wayback Machine.
It goes way back.
So the thing that you can do with Wayback Machine, and this is why this tool is so important. Like I recommend this tool for anyone job searching. Like if you're preparing for an interview, the one place you want to look at is Wayback Machine. So let's say you're looking for a job at Marvel, right? And you don't know, right? Or you're trying to look for a job at I'm going to take someone, I'm not sure, I'm going to take a random employer here in Australia. You're looking for a job at PwC Australia, although PwC is probably not a good example because they have offices all over the world, right? Who am I going to pick?
Williams Technology.
Let's say Whois.
Oh, okay.
.com.au. Is that the domain? Right.
I think so, yeah.
So if you put that in here, so basically, what is the Wayback Machine? That's probably a good place to start. So the Wayback Machine is essentially an archive of the data that is available on the internet. So every single day, remember when I showed you guys the robot.txt file? Pardon me. Every single day, API calls are basically crawling the internet, trying to take a snapshot of every single website that exists. So an example, this is what I wanted to show you guys today, is that website, that malicious website we're trying to visit, that I sent to Nathan. If that website was ever live, we can literally just come into the Wayback Machine and go, all right, what was that website when it was last live? Did the Wayback Machine take a capture of it? So remember, the Wayback Machine obviously takes a snapshot of any website that was ever live on the internet. Now, I believe there is an interval, so it doesn't do it every single second. There's an interval that it basically uses to go around it. So we can actually come in here and go, hey, do you have anything for this website? Right? Again, it may not.
That's a good idea.
And we see that this is a really good way for you to know if a website has just been recently registered, because threat actors would often, do that, register a new domain. So you can see here, save one item in January the 25th. So let's see what was on this website on January the 25th, if Wayback Machine will let me do it. So it basically says, sorry, you've been blocked. That was when it took the image.
Yep. So all that troubleshooting you were facing.
Yep.
It wasn't useless, but you now know that it wasn't anything you were doing.
No. So we can see that Wayback Machine actually took a picture of this on the 21st of January. So I'm guessing the threat actor created this domain really quickly, used it for something they want to use it for, and then quickly dumped it. Right. So that's what's going on here. So if we go back to Whois.com. Now, from a job searcher's point of view, and I don't want that to be the only thing you guys get out of this. Like, I don't want OSINT to be something you only use when you're doing a job, right? But let's say, for example, you want to apply for a job at OSINT. You want to apply for a job at Whois, not OSINT. Thank you very much. And you can see there's a lot of activity in 2028. So this actually means that Whois probably did a lot of update to their website in 2028, right? Because basically, when the Wayback Machine scans your website and it doesn't see any difference, it will take a snapshot of it. It takes a snapshot when it sees changes. Right, so we can see in 2028, there's a lot of changes on Whois website. So let's see what the Whois website looked like on the 17th of August, 2028. Are you guys ready?
We are.
So at 15:45 p.m., ready for it? Wait for it. This is what Whois.com.au looks like in 2028. Are you guys sure it's Whois.com.au?
2008.
Yep. Because I feel like Whois.
That's strange. That doesn't look like Whois.
Well,
It looks like some AAAvet.com.pt.
Yeah, but it does tell you that the website was basically, the domain was on sale, was registered or something like that. So interesting. Let's see. If I come a little bit further to 2019, let's see if we can find anything. Archived that URL. Domain.com. Index.php. Let's go there again. So, what date was this? 2019. Guys, I think we might be getting the domain wrong, or maybe I've got spelling wrong.
Well,
It's
maybe you do.
Woolworths with an S. Woolworths.
There you go. Why did anyone not pick that up? I'm like, something is not right here. Oh, jeez. Come on.
Oh, Sammy.
That was too small. That was too small for my old eyes. Abdullah is the young buck. He's the eagle
It's a
eyes.
fuck. There you go. That's what we're looking for. Right.
I'll take
So
a complete
as of,
glassware. I don't know.
as of today, so this is what the Woolworth website looks like today. Right. And this is why this is so important. But let's go back in time. This is what we're trying to show, and look at what the website looked like.
Oh, that's very old school. Far out.
Right.
Old school, yeah, man.
Now, and this is where you can sort of, again, I've chosen a random employer for a second. But if you notice here, for some reason, Dixmate exists on the inside of Woolworth. Why?
That's kind of weird.
Right. So obviously, at some point, Dixmate probably had an agreement with Woolworth for you to link their web, to go from the Woolworth website to Dixmate. So you can see other Woolworth product and services. So I didn't even know Woolworth owns Catex.
Oh,
So,
I'm not surprised.
yeah. So this is where you begin to find information that at the time, because usually when companies start for the first time, they don't have a lot of resources to do a lot of information covering and information protection. So you have a lot of data that you can play with, right? And you can even go to things like contact us and see if Woolworth used to have a different mobile number then that is present on their website. Like an example is sometimes you can actually see information that's like under our team. Like it's not too crazy to think that if someone was working at Woolworth in 2018 and Woolworth used to have they used to post about showing off their employees. So an example is someone who's working their way up to a hiring manager probably started at Woolworth maybe 10, 15 years ago, right? So you can basically go in and go, I want to look at careers, or I want to look at our team, or whatever that name is. Again, Woolworth is a really bad idea to use because Woolworth is a public website, right, for purchasing things. But in here, you can sort of begin to look at, all right, is there any information about our employer, our team, what to expect at Woolworth, and all of this information that you're going to find in there. And then from there, store management. Let's see, do we find anything there? And there we go. Scott Wallace, 29 years old. Again, I don't want to call out his name a little bit more, but you can see diploma in Woolworth management in Woolworth management. And where is this dude located? For contact details, click here. So again, a bunch of things that you can actually do with this data, and that's the thing, right? It's that curiosity that matters. It's the curiosity that matters. It's being able to just click around, just find out what can you find. And this guy, now that we've got a name for this guy, right? Again, this is publicly available information. What role does this guy hold at Woolworth today? All right? Because that was, the data we're looking at right now is from what date? 2001. So Scott would be really old by now because it was 29. Then
That's a very generic first last name, so it's going to be very hard to specifically find that guy.
that's all right. There's one way to do it.
It's better if we know. I don't know. Use date of birth, for example. If we know that back then in 2000, whatever, he was 29, just count back 29 years and understand what year he was born in.
Right? You don't have to look for it. Look at that. Do you guys see that?
I see everything.
Woolworths, yeah.
We've got Scott. Good old Scott. He's now in Brisbane.
But look, it says Woolworths for 13 years, 2014, 2016.
So I'm sure there's, again, I don't want to click at his profile because once I click it, it's gonna trying to use my profile to look at it, and this is why you want to have a like a banner credential or access that you can use to look at it. But potentially, even if it is not, like, let's look at the photos. Which one of them looks more like Scott? Scott, the young lad. So it was in Queensland then, all right? Deception Bay. So which one of them is in Queensland? Gold Coast. That looks like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one resembles him the most.
Yeah. So you can actually just, I kind of don't want to just go and open someone's image, but you can literally just go in here and look at that guy. And then you can find more information about him. And now you know who the manager is and all of that. And now, the reason this is important is when you come into the interview, oh, come on, I didn't want to do that. When you come into the interview, you can actually sort of, talk to the person like you know them. Hey, Scott, I know that you've been at this business for so long now, starting your career very early on, and finishing your set 3 and whatnot in Woolworth management. I know that you've worked your way up, you've worked hard, and it's the same level of commitment that I want to put into the work. Now, do you think that's not going to resonate with the guy?
Won't that creep him out that you actually know so much about him?
Well, and that's the
That's
thing.
the point I feel.
You want to have a level of creeping someone out in a job interview because guess what you're going to apply for? Cybersecurity. Obviously, don't do this. You're going to go apply for it. Stop person. That's the bad kind of creep out, right? But again,
Can we actually do some OSINT on Sammy just to understand on Sammy's background and everything on it?
100%. Like, why not? Like, you could just OSINT on me. So this is essentially how I've used 3 different tools. I've used the Wayback Machine to show you guys how every single website actually has a snapshot of it on the internet. So if a website posts something unintentionally and then goes and deletes it, well, if that data was snapshot, it will be present for anyone to see in 10, 20 years from now. And that is important, right? It means that as someone who's looking for a job or you're trying to find information, whilst the current website might not have the information you're looking for, do not stop short by just looking at it and going away. Try to find that information in the Wayback Machine or the web archive. So that's one way to do it. I wanted to see obviously if people had any questions.
Not a question per se, but I think was it like 4 months ago or something when Internet Archive was actually hacked and was hold like ransomware or something for some time?
I didn't hear that. Everyone knows not to hack the Internet Archive. I didn't hear that. Let's Google it.
I didn't hear it either.
No, everyone knows that's a no-no. Everyone knows not to hack them.
What could you possibly get out of it
I know.
that is going to benefit you?
Yeah, you might actually be right. So, Blipping Computer, Internet Archive hacked. Data breach impact 31 million users. Suffered a data breach after a threat actor compromised the website and stole a user authentication. Interesting.
It's about sending a message.
It's about it's like do not archive my website. Is that the message?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So it's actually a pretty good read. For anyone who's interested and wants to go read it. But yeah, really good touch point, Alex. Well done, mate. Obviously it's already 11 p.m. So guys, let's wrap it up. So again, just before we round up, so I've shown you guys how to use tools like Whois.com by actually looking at the data, including registration time and the expiration time of domains, looking at where it was first registered, looking at who registered it, the administrator, the organization that owns it, and the actual registrant organization, things like GoDaddy, DomainGate or something like that. There's
MailChimp.
MailChimp is more for email marketing.
Okay.
Hostinger and a whole bunch of them. So these are all the different platforms that that you can actually get information about. And it's always never really about the one information, although that is possible. But it's often a combination of different information, pair them together to then put something together that gives you an image of what you're looking for. So that's one key thing to be aware of there, obviously. But with that, I wanted to obviously wrap it up. Thanks so much, everyone. For next week, we're going to be spending time on Maltego and the Harvester and getting more information about how to actually do OSINT with these other platforms. Now, all the things that I've shown today, they're not the only ones that you can use. I've shown you guys how to basically get data out of basically a remote location using HTTP or file, which was a deviation from what we were supposed to be talking about today, but that was relevant for the threat landscape segment. But we talked about OSINT and how to use different OSINT tools to find information. We looked at Worksy, we looked at Showdown, we looked at Wayback Machine, and surprise, surprise, who knew that in 2024 the Wayback Machine was actually hacked, and a few million people's data was leaked to the web as well. So these are the 31 million user data breached, to be exact. Thanks, Alex, for sharing that. So, like I said, next week we'll be spending more time on this, and obviously for anyone who was lost a little bit today, please feel free to send any questions that you might have in the Discord server, and we can touch base on that and also provide some recommendations or some links. Nathan and I will probably put together some links to all of the tools that we used today and the ones that we referenced together, and maybe put it in a nice document telling you guys with a quick description of what it does and how to use it. So that might not necessarily come in tonight or tomorrow, but that's something that will be useful to give everyone as a cheat sheet. But with that, for anyone who's watching this later, that you guys, you now know a little bit more about Whois, how Whois used to look like in the back, old days. Certainly it's a massive improvement from where they were then to where they are right now. We look forward to catching up with you guys online later. But for anyone who's still in here, present in the actual session, it's really, really good to have you guys here. Thank you so much for still coming every single day and being part of the show. With that, I will stop the recording and we'll catch you guys online folks later. But for those who are still in the room, let's let the fun continue, all right? And where's my meme? Oh, come on. Excellent. It's a perfect way to end it, guys.
Excellent.
Most excellent. Catch you, everyone. Cheers.